So this was a fun surprise to wake up to. Pikmin 3 is finally coming to the Nintendo Switch in the form of Pikmin 3 Deluxe, and it's hitting October 30th, so not all that far away. Now, interestingly enough, even though there was a reveal trailer, it touched on almost nothing new that they're adding to the game. Thankfully, some tweets from Nintendo as well as on the official website do show off, or do at least talk about some of the new features, including 2-player co-op. That's right, you can now play through the main game together with a friend on the same console, which is exciting, but unfortunately it seems that there's no online, which is a bit of a bummer in that case. Next up, we have brand new adventures in the form of a new epilogue, or rather a new prologue and epilogue featuring Olimar and Louie. So hey, this might be our Pikmin 4, and this also features co-op, so it's cool that we're getting some new story content here. Then we have quality of life improvements, including an enhanced lock-on targeting system, enemy balance changes, multiple difficulty modes, optional hints, and more. Wonder what those could be. And finally, we have the return of the Piccolopedia from Pikmin 2, in which you can get a rundown or like a bio of the different characters and enemies you encounter. So all of this is pretty darn exciting. I like that they're actually adding features to the game rather than just attacking on Deluxe and calling it a day, as they basically did with New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe. But there is one strange omission from all of this, and that's how are the controls going to work? Because this was a major part of the Wii U version of the game, in which the gamepad acted as your map and provided access to a few other features, like being able to direct your 2 other squad mates, as well as the game featuring Wii Remote controls, where you could point at the screen for pinpoint precision in order to throw your Pikmin and call them back with extreme accuracy. So they didn't touch on any of that, so I don't know if they're going to be targeting just a more standard control system, or there might be gyro controls, but I'm sure we'll have more to say about that a bit later. For now, are you guys excited to revisit Pikmin 3, or in your case, Derek, are you excited to play it for the first time?
I think it's pretty cool. I think this makes a lot of sense to bring over to the Switch. People have been calling for it. It seems like that next one of the big games that people always mention that should come to the Switch after the Wii U. Gives Pikmin a real good chance of success, especially with that October slot. Luigi's Mansion 3 did very well with that last year. So it gives it a lot of potential. Plus, I think it immediately brings in Pikmin fans who are just starved for content, and to have them have new like epilogue and prologue stuff with Louie and Olimar makes a lot of sense. As far as the control, couldn't tell you, but my guess is it's probably going to be pretty typical with maybe some gyro controls. It might be the setup John loves, where it's you control them normally, but then you can kind of tweak the accuracy a little bit by just moving the motion controls a little bit.
I hope so, Derek. So, I played Pikmin 3 on Wii U, and I never once used traditional button controls. I played that with Wii Remote and Nunchuck the entire time, but I had a balance. I had like the Wii U gamepad on my lap to kind of have like a mini-map on at all times, and sometimes use it to touch some mandatory parts, but for the most part, I played entirely with motion, which is the same controls as like new Play Controls Pikmin on Wii and new Play Controls Pikmin 2, and that works so well. And I don't want to go back to just Pikmin 1 and 2 controls. It sounds like they are sort of optimizing it a bit with the new lock-on features, but I really hope those motion controls are in there.
Yeah.
But as for my raw reactions, though, Andre listed a bunch of new features, and none of those were showcased in the trailer. The trailer
That's so weird.
Was literally just Pikmin 3 story mode with nothing new. So if you didn't go on Twitter or like go on their website, you wouldn't know a thing about these new features.
Yeah, it's such an odd thing that they didn't focus on any of the new details in the trailer, which I think might speak more to who Nintendo's targeting here, which is not Wii U owners, which is most people. So I think they're assuming most people probably didn't play Pikmin 3 and don't, and so the new features wouldn't mean a whole lot to them. But yeah, I think it's odd that they neglected to show us who have played before why we should buy it again, if not just to re-experience the game. But yeah, I'm excited by all of this. I enjoyed Pikmin 3 originally, though I found the gamepad usage incredibly cumbersome, where you basically had to keep it in your lap in order to play with the remote and nunchuck, which I otherwise love those controls. So I'm excited by having a game untethered from the gamepad now. It's probably one of the Wii U games that was negatively impacted by the Wii U gamepad. And we've already seen how the map will work in one of the screenshots, where you can see you can access your tablet device with the minus button, I believe. So it seems like they're going to be putting the map and everything on, on the button toggle, like how it worked in the first 2 games. But my biggest concern lies, again, with the controls. I loved how the Wii Remote and pointer worked. And so it concerns me a little bit when they don't mention that here at all, and they mention instead that there are enhanced lock-on controls, which makes me wonder, are they really targeting only a dual control stick setup? because that would bum me out so much. I mean, don't get me wrong, I thought the controls worked well in the original games, but the Wii Remote was perfect for this game, and there's no, like, Joy-Con alternative in which you can use the gyro controls as a pointer. I'm gonna be crushed. It's gonna be a little bit tough going back to those old controls, and maybe that's why they're adding multiple difficulty modes. They didn't say which way those are going. Those could be harder or easier, maybe both. Because if we're going back to how Pikmin used to control, this game by default is going to be harder.
Yeah,
that is very true. It's also one of those things where, hey, this might be a preview of, like, maybe they took so long on this or Pikmin 4 because, like, okay, how do we get these controls to work without our Wii Remote? And maybe that's what they've been trying to figure out with Pikmin 4. So maybe next year's the time.
Well, the Wii U version had a bunch of options. Like, there was the traditional sort of GameCube setup, then there's the Wii Remote and Nunchuck, and as time went on, they had a patch which added touch controls. So I think the way... I didn't play this patch, but the way I hear it works was basically use the analog stick to move around, and then touch controls are basically your Wii Remote pointer, so you can just touch where you want the Pikmin to go. So at the very least, that should be an option, and I can see that working pretty well.
Yeah, I think so. But it's pretty well enough.
Not really. we need those motion controls. I think Pikmin 3 used Motion Plus, which means you didn't have to be pointing at the sensor bar the entire time, but the sensor bar does calibrate it, which would be something that the Joy-Cons would not have.
Right, it's something we'd have to handle manually, like we've seen in a few other games, use a pointer.
Yeah, like Captain Toad has that, but having on screen the entire time, it's gonna drift, it's gonna lose focus. Yeah,
and that might possibly be why they're not exploring it, but I think it at the least should be an option. But yeah, it is a bummer that this will seemingly be a downgrade in at least one way, and arguably one of the most important ways, being how you interface with the game. So we'll see. It does concern me that they make no mention of the controls here at all beyond the enhanced lock-on targeting. So yeah, we'll see, about that. What does excite me, though, is the fact that there's new adventures, a brand new prologue and epilogue starring Olimar and Louie. And on the menu screen for this, we can even see that the plot seems to be, once again, to save Hocotate Fright from bankruptcy. So this is basically Pikmin 2, or like a new take on Pikmin 2, where we had those two characters going through the game together.
This is really cool, because it's basically Pikmin 3.5, because it's both a prologue and an epilogue.
Right.
So we're going to have something like at the beginning of the story and the end of the story. And it's been a while since I played Pikmin 3, but as far as I recall, Olimar and Louie were quite loosely part of the plot. I think that it's more just a sort of comfort returning players, and Olimar has more to do with the ending. But it'd be interesting to see exactly why they're there, what more's going on, and potentially how this links to Pikmin 4.
That's a good point, because Pikmin 3, I forget exactly what it did, but it as to my recollection, it did tease Pikmin 4 or some kind of something happening after Pikmin 3. So it'll be interesting to see if they pick that up at all in these epilogue stories, or in this epilogue story.
Or the epilogue resolves it immediately, like, well, no Pikmin 4, trilogy's done.
Yeah, they just wrap it up. One thing that we were sort of processing, because we didn't quite believe it, is they mentioned that this is fully co-op, which is huge. Like, that should have been in the trailer. The entirety of the story and the new mode can be played two-player.
But there's a problem. It's only on a single system, John.
I mean, I was saying this to you, Andre, before we start recording. I don't know anyone near me who enjoys Pikmin, so I don't know if I'm going to play this mode. But I think if you do know someone, this is such a cool feature. Because there was multiplayer in the Wii U version, but it was strictly for these bonus mini-games and a few missions. But the core story was just single-player. And I think this is going to have a lot of replayability if you have someone you know who likes Pikmin.
It really does need that online mode, because people love to talk about Bingo Battle. I know nothing about Bingo Battle, but people love to talk about that. It was like, if they ever did do Pikmin 3 on Switch, it would make sense to make that online. But there is no indication of online in any of this, so that's a bit of a bummer.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple odd things here. I love that they're adding co-op, period. That is kind of like a no-brainer. But at the same time, there are 3 characters in this game, but it's only 2-player co-op. So that's kind of another odd thing. So I wish in a perfect world, they'll make there should be a Pikmin 3 Deluxe, which finally adds 3-player online co-op. Then I'll be a happy puppy.
I'm excited to see multiplayer speedruns, actually, because this game has a lot of micromanaging, and there are points in the Wii U version where you could basically point on the gamepad and show you where you want your allies to go. So to sort of do that in real time with actual teammates next to you is going to be super interesting. I've just seen people storm through these levels efficiently as they can.
Yeah.
That's going to be fun to see.
Yeah, I imagine you'll effectively be able to maybe half your time with this game at this point, because before your teammates, you basically had to babysit them, right? You could tell them to walk somewhere maybe, but beyond that, they didn't do a whole lot by themselves. Whereas now, adding a second player to that is going to make the game a lot shorter, I would think. Which might be why they're adding these additional difficulty modes in order to offer a challenge for even when you are playing with two people.
Yeah. It's also going to be strange at the beginning, because you start off completely stranded from your team. I think you don't really meet up with them until like an hour in. So if you're planning on playing this multiplayer the entire way through, I'd imagine that you'll be sitting next to your friend for a while until you get a chance to actually play.
You think maybe they'll like just bear with us here. It's a video game, so there's two elves.
They could do that. Yeah, they could do that.
No, I think they'll wait until you have a partner character. It's not that long into the game that you have to go. It is a short ways.
It's not ages.
But we've seen other games like this too. For some reason, Jeffers Gemini hops out. It comes to my mind immediately, where you found Floyd, like what seemed like halfway through that game, and he was a co-op character. So I imagine that they'll probably lock it, at least for the main story, behind you finding the your next character. However, in the new adventures, they could you might be able to start right away as Olimar and Louie, right? So
yeah, that makes way more sense for 2-player too. It's literally just two characters, no one's left behind.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I wonder how long those these side stories are going to be. By the way, like
sure.
They like 3 to 4 hour adventures? Maybe are we talking full length if you combine the two? Like, what are we looking at here?
Yeah, I mean that's. I mean, it's been a long time since Pikmin 3, so I'm expecting something rather meaty. Yeah, it's really hard to say. I mean, I think this could at least be 4 to 5 hours. Yeah,
it seems fair. I was thinking a little bit shorter, like 2 to 4 at most.
For both of them combined?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, I mean, I guess Nintendo's side content with their re-releases has been like better lately. Like if you look at Tropical Freeze, it was just Funky Kong. Then you got Mario U, which was just Toadette. But then Tokyo Mirage Sessions had these new bonus levels, which admittedly weren't very long either. But then Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition had like a 10-hour or like 15, 20-hour epilogue.
Yeah,
so I'm expecting something a little bit more in the vein of that. Not as long as that, but the same sort of volume as that.
Yeah, it'd be really cool.
What if those are the Pikmin 4? That is what Pikmin 4 is now. They just shoehorned into Pikmin 3 Deluxe.
There you go.
But I think, I mean, it is cool that after over 7 years, we are finally getting new Pikmin content. You know, not just in the form of the revisited Pikmin 3, but we actually are getting some slightly new stories here, which is fun. Even if it's not the full-on sequel a lot of people have been hoping for, it is something new, and that's pretty cool. And it seems like this is one of the few, maybe not few, but like, it seems like this game will earn its deluxe moniker. Unlike some of the other ones, which have been a little bit more dubious, I'd say. Like, New Super Mario Brothers, there was almost nothing deluxe about that game.
If anything, it removes content. There's less content in Deluxe.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I had no idea that Pikmin 3 actually got DLC. I'm like, oh, okay, that's a thing. So it's like,
Derek, that had the beautiful pizza. There was a DLC map with this stunning pizza, one of the best looking pizzas in the game.
Oh my God.
It was worth it for that alone.
Is it still the best looking 7 years later, though, John?
I think it might be. I've not seen that many pizzas in games, but that one takes the slice for me. Actually, speaking of graphics, I think Pikmin 3 is still stunning in a lot of ways. Like the fruit and the juice physics are incredible.
Yeah.
But watching the trailer, one thing that did take me back was the floor textures are still the same, and those always stood out to me as jarring. Because otherwise, the vegetation looks great, the models of the animals look great, but those ground textures look like they came from a different era, and I was hoping they'll touch them up, but they don't look different at all.
They're always the worst part of the Pikmin games, and yeah, it unfortunately seems like there's no, as far as we can tell, there don't seem to be any enhancements to the visuals, aside from maybe a resolution bump, I'm assuming, hopefully. But it still looks good, as you said, but there are parts they could touch up.
And yeah, 1080p is hopefully expected, but some of the press shots don't look too stunning. Like there's a few of them which look very pixelated. So yeah, fingers crossed they've upgraded. That these could be from a different build, but I mean, I'm being optimistic now. I hope they've upgraded them, but they're not looking that impressive.
I mean, we still have, 3 months?
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm just kind of excited the fact that I owned a Pikmin 3 on Wii U, but I just never took the time to play it. So this gives me another chance to buy it and hopefully actually play it this time.
Okay, so quick update. Pikmin 3 was not 60 frames per second. It was 30. So
okay.
Oh. Well, maybe this will be 60.
That'd be nice. Yeah, I'd be down for that. that'd be a nice improvement. Yes, you're excited to play this for the first time, Derek?
Yeah, I've heard a lot of good things. People seem to generally enjoy it more than 2, and I've not played 2 either. I've only played the original multiple times, but I have played, that's the one I have mainly played. I've always meant to go through and play the other ones, but I just never got a chance. And I always heard people being really happy with Pikmin 3. Some declaring it as the best. I know you don't, Andre. You still prefer the original, but it seemed like a good marriage between 1 and 2, which makes me interested.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I've always preferred the original setup where you had the hard time limit, because the Juice, as John and I were talking about before this discussion, it tries to mimic the fact that you have this time pressure to finish things up, but we never ran close to we never got close to running out of juice. Yeah, so I'm hoping that the additional difficulty levels will make it so juice is more essential and reintroduce that pressure that was part of the original game that was pretty much completely missing from 2. But my bigger issue with 3 was just the controls. I hated using the gamepad. I hated having to awkwardly straddle the thing on my lap, consult it whenever I had to use a map, and move teammates around or whatever else. So the fact that this is a single screen experience actually not only excites me, but I think it will result in a better product. The downside for me is, as I've already touched on, is I'm concerned about the controls, because I love them in Pikmin 3. So it seems like this game may be taking, may have some improvements while also being worse in a few ways too. But again, we don't know for sure. Nintendo's been vague about this so far.
You touched on the difficulty briefly. I'm excited for that. I didn't play through Pikmin 3 and think this game is too easy or too hard, but I hope it's more than just adding more HP to enemies or anything like that. I hope it's to do with survival, because that juice system, you didn't really think about it.
No.
You pick up fruit along your journey and you're fine. You never really have to worry about running out of any resources. So I hope it's more than just taking away more fruit. I hope they just make the whole survival technique a bit more integral, because it never really mattered.
I think one easy way of bringing back a survival element to it would be, as I was reminding myself from reading up on Pikmin 3 originally, it didn't matter how many characters you had in your party, you always drank 1 bottle of juice per day.
Right.
Regardless of whether you had 1, 2, or 3 characters. So it would be kind of fun if they made it where if you had 2 characters, they can start drinking 2 bottles of juice per day, and when you had 3, that's going to be 3. That would add some serious pressure, I think. To the point that they may actually have to add a few additional fruit, where they make that a difficulty option, but I think that'd be fun. That'd be a good way for people who are experienced with the game to have some possibly serious pressure there to keep going.
And if you don't have enough juice, you have to decide which of your teammates must perish first.
Sacrifice. I love that. Yes, but yeah, I am excited for the co-op specifically as well. I just don't know how accessible that'll be for me. I just wish that were online so much.
Yeah, it'd be nice, because I'm certainly there's nobody around that's going to want to play this with me.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the difficulty modes might be a bit more accessible if this isn't her type of gameplay. But yeah, hopefully there is online. And Bingo Battle online, that'd be incredible. That'd be so much fun to keep coming back to.
That would be fun.
It'd be great. But yeah, I mean, it's cool that it's there. It's hard to undermine that, but online would just be such a bigger deal.
Mm-hmm. Well, any final thoughts, everyone, on Pikmin 3 Deluxe or anything else related to this?
Just a nice surprise to wake up to.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised it's coming. Everyone knew that Pikmin 3 was going to come at some point. It's one of the few Wii U games left. But I wasn't expecting it just to drop like this. I mean, I guess Paper Mario did too, but this just came out of nowhere.
Yeah, I mean, you think those two could have anchored at least a mini direct by themselves, or not just by themselves, but along with the third-party announcements we had in the previous Nintendo Direct, whatever those are called these days. Yeah, I mean, I'm fine with it. I don't mind these Twitter announcements. It's just, a little odd to see Nintendo now announcing things in a manner quite different than how they used to in the past. So, yeah, I guess it's, we owe it to the state of things right now, but...
Meanwhile, Sony's forging ahead with the state of play, so we're getting Sony with Directs and Nintendo not.
I guess Sony does, but Nintendo don't.
Yeah.
Actually, one thing I do want to bring up. I've seen some people on Twitter complaining that this is just Pikmin 3 and not 1 and 2. Did that even occur to you guys? Or are you content with this just being Pikmin 3 Deluxe?
Did not even occur to me, although it probably would have made the $60 price tag that this is absolutely going to feel more worth it. Because, there's no way this is not going to be $60.
Yeah,
no.
I mean, it would have been awesome, but there was never a chance Nintendo was going to redo all the assets in the first two games, or the ones they had to at least. I guess they have the Olimar models now. In order for it to sell
a compilation would be amazing, sure. But I think the new features they're adding, which they haven't emphasized, to be fair. I don't blame anyone for not knowing that there's a new campaign with Olimar and Louis, but I think that sounds more than fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think so too. We are getting brand new story content, new features. So it's not just Pikmin 3, which I like. So it'll be interesting to see how long those campaigns actually are, how much they add to the story, and how much they may possibly build up to a theoretical Pikmin 4.
Yep. Only 3 months to wait.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, there you have it. That's your thoughts on Pikmin 3, but let us know what you think in the comments below. If you liked our discussion, make sure to click that subscribe button and ring that bell for more on Pikmin 3 at some point, hopefully. Hopefully we'll find out about the control scheme before the game comes out, as well as everything else Nintendo Switch as well. We'll catch you guys later. Bye.